Sonic the Hedgehog by IDW, issue number 26, titled All or Nothing, Part 1, is the start of the final battle in order to take back just the Chaos Emeralds, finding a way to get rid of the metal virus. Just this is the last ditch attempt. This is the last ditch effort. Everything has to work out here, or else everything is lost. If they don't stop the Zeti here and now, nothing will ever be right again. So let's jump into it now. As Tails and Eggman have found a way to create various different portals with the Warp Topaz. These portals will lead each of our heroes straight to each of the Zeti with the Chaos Emeralds. Now, it's getting kind of obvious that Sonic is starting to wear from all the running he's been doing, all the fighting he's been doing. Not to mention, don't know if they'll be able to actually take him into battle with the Zeti because of his condition. That might create just another issue on top of everything else. So they divide everyone into groups in order to pursue the various different Zeti of the Deadly Six. So in terms of this, they want Tails and Amy to go after Zama. Because he's dumb as a brick and they should be able to outwit him. Want Espio and Knuckles to go after Zaz because of their skill in terms of combat, they should be able to get around his wildness and brute strength. However, Knuckles isn't too keen on going, because that would ultimately leave Eggman unchecked on Angel Island. And when Sonic actually thinks about it for a second, it's just like, yeah, you might be right about that. But Espio feels like he really kind of needs to do this. Because, Charmy ended up in a situation where he tried to take things on alone. Vector tried to as well, and it didn't go too well. And I feel like I was reading into this moment a little poorly because, it seems like what Espio is trying to say here is like, Charmy and Vector went into situations on their own, and, it's the least he can do to at least try this, but it's just like, that ended poorly. That's a bad example, dude. Meanwhile, when it comes to Zor, they send in Silver and Whisper because Zor's kind of a bit of a weirdo in terms of his abilities, so attacking from a distance is their best shot, and they're two of the long range fighters. Meanwhile, General is sent after Xena, which raises a question. Why would you send a robot after one of the Deadly Six? It really doesn't make sense. And Cream wants to go along, but, no, you a child, we ain't doing that. But it really does raise the question why you would send a robot after the one of the Deadly Six. It's just like you set yourself up for failure. There has to be something deeper here, because that doesn't gel. It's something deeper has to be going on here. As for Master Zik, they're sending the Babylon rogues after him. Just because, at most they're fast, he's old, hopefully they'll be able to take him out to some degree. Meanwhile, that ends up leaving Eggman with Sonic. And, he's going to try to make it so that Sonic doesn't just pass out and suddenly turn into a Zombot, because it's starting to look like the metal virus isn't really being kept at bay by its speed as much as it was previously. Meanwhile, Rogue is still keep Rouge is still keeping an eye on Zavik and trying to figure out how she'll be able to get his emerald. So that's a bit of a struggle there. Meanwhile, Knuckles will be personally taking care of all the refugees and making sure that they're safe should something bad happen. Meanwhile, as Sonic still continues to fight off the virus, Sonic takes a bit of a moment and kind of gets something off his chest, which kind of took me off guard by, I guess you could say, the malice behind it. I love Evan Stanley's pencils here. She really does great work in terms of artistry and just intensity. You have some great illustrators on this book who really just know how to bring out the emotion of certain scenes. And this one in particular kind of took me off guard because I don't know if it's just because they're trying to show the fatigue that Sonic is going through, but he takes a moment to just address Metal Sonic in particular. And that's the fact that with Eggman, he didn't have a chance to stay good. Starline took that from him. But with Metal Sonic had a bit of a choice. You know, Unlike the likes of Omega, who chose to rebel, or even General, who also chose to rebel to be something different, who showed the twinge of something better, you know, when it came to Metal Sonic, he still chose to go right back to Eggman. But Eggman feels like, well, of course he was always going to choose to do this. It's in his programming. But Sonic says, look, ultimately, no one would have been around to restore him to that. Sonic's hope was that without weapons, without being a critical danger, Metal Sonic would have to actually start thinking for himself, start to develop into something better. That's Sonic's reasoning, and I kind of get that because ultimately, yes, various different of Eggman's robots have shown the potential for something better, to be something better. You know, Emerald, Gemerald, Omega, Gamma. We've seen it time and time again. And Metal Sonic has struck out on his own to do his own things, but, he always comes back to Eggman. And Sonic doesn't get that. But, ultimately Eggman uses this as a moment to just taunt him. Because while Sonic is determined to bring out that side of Eggman that was Mr. Tinkerer, that showed that somewhere within him, if there was just some part of him that wasn't there, he could be someone good. He could have been someone good. But Eggman wants to turn that on him, saying that, ultimately, a lot of this is your fault. The way the infection has grown and mutated, the many times you've hit the zombots and just spread them around, how many blades of grass you've infected along the way. You know, he's trying to create that hint of doubt in Sonic's mind that'll cause him to slip up. Once this is all over, he'll still use this to cause Sonic to slip up at some point, and then Eggman will get his ultimate victory. But Sonic's not buying into it. At least that's what he shows, because, it was Eggman who chose to spread this virus. It was Eggman who chose to do all of this. Yes, the virus was created in a way that if we never got this version of Eggman back, we might never have gotten any hope at a cure. Because the virus already existed before he became, he was switched back from Mr. Tinkerer. Things could have gone a whole lot differently. Honestly, I would have loved to see that story, where someone unwittingly unleashed the virus and they had to bring Eggman back in order to solve the situation. That would have been intense. But the plans kind of shift into high gear. Zavik is still searching for Eggman, determined to find him. And as he inches closer to finding him on Angel Island, Rouge creates a bit of a distraction in order to lead him away. Now, the pencils for the second half of the issue have gone to a creator called Priscilla Terman Tano, who I'm not quite familiar with. I think I've seen some of her work before. It's decent, but when paired with Evan Stanley's more detailed illustrations, it, it doesn't quite match up. It's just like it kind of feels like a bit of a step down. Which no offense to her. It's just it was just so intense with Evan Stanley's pencils to go to a more flatter, cartoony style. Well, it's all cartoony, but you could see the depth with Evan Stanley's pencils. Whereas here with Priscilla's, it's a lot more flat, which not bad for a regular issue. I wouldn't mind this. It's just Evan Stanley is one of the best Sonic artists out there, and if you don't think so, you're wrong. But Rouge has managed to keep Zavik off the trail of the refugees, and she still just kind of has to figure out how to get it away from him. So the plan is initiated as everyone goes racing through the various different portals to meet up with their enemies. So Xena ends up coming face to face with General and Cream, who decides to tag along, but immediately General is taken control of. So I have to think that something deeper was going on here. I can't believe that Ian would just like write this into the situation without this being intentional to some degree, I guess you could say. Meanwhile, Amy and Tails meet up with Zom, try to trick him, but, he's just all about his food and it's just like, you interrupted me, I'ma smash you now. So that's just how he goes. Unfortunately for Espio, oh, when it comes to oh god, the freaky one, the Waluigi Zeddy. He ends up actually spotting Espio before he can actually, you know, get the emerald with his stealth technique. So Espio ends up surrounded by Zombots. Now, next, you have Whisper and Silver coming to face with their foe. You know, we'll see how that one goes. Master Zix ends up meeting up with the Babylon Rogues, and he immediately takes control of their boards because, of course, he does. Like, they control electronics. Not too much forethought there, but you know, Storm and Wave end up taking a hit in order for Jet to get in close and get his board, only for Jet and Wave to end up in a bad situation, which is just kind of like, yeah, it's great for you, Jet, but what about everyone else? So, and that's where the issue ends. The battles begin. Let's see where things go from here on out. Ultimately, they'll win in the end. Of course they will, but how they'll do it, that raises a lot of questions because it's very unclear in a lot of situations. You know, a lot of the Zeti, well, they are kind of one-note characters that just don't really have a lot in terms of depth. It really does raise the question. There is some effort needed in taking these bad guys down. You do actually have to put in some form of effort to take down the Deadly Six. And with some of these characters basically being completely alone in their battles, namely Espio and Cream, it's just kind of like, how are they going to take these guys down? They're not, they're not, Zaz is tough, but they have an army of zombots at their call as well. And a lot of these characters end up completely surrounded too. So it really just kind of make you wonder, where is this going? How are they going to survive all of this? How are they going to make it out? So I'm looking forward to the next issue, and if you are as well, please feel free to join me, subscribe, hit the bell, and if you like this video, leave me a like or a dislike, depending on how you feel. And I hope you'll join me for the next issue in the fight of their lives. Until then, I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.